And my second record was probably also a fluke because it was awful. High Class Baby it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really awful. And the terrible thing was that the B-side just sounded like a continuation of the A-side. And it was not something that I'm particularly proud of. So,
but hadn't they to turn over the first record?
Well, if they bothered to turn the first record over,
yeah,
the second one just seemed to start off where the first one left off.
Yeah.
Except it didn't start with a fade.
Yeah. Any other regrets? Anything about, like, your career? Or
I don't even regret that, you know. It's just that if you were to push me and say, what are the things I didn't like?
What didn't you like?
Well, I never liked being on this show, but...
Who does?
I didn't... No, obviously when you make a record, you know, the main thing is that you believe in it. And of course, if a record fails, you lose a little confidence in yourself. And I've often wondered, you know, am I actually losing touch? Because I had a record out called When Two Worlds Drift Apart, which I thought was a fabulous record. And even though for a fortnight it was the most played record on radio, it never got into the top 30 at all. But you learn to live with that kind of disappointment. I don't think it really matters, because only last year rather, I had two very big successes, so obviously I haven't lost touch completely.
Yeah, let me ask you that, though, because when I was a boy disc jockey, people used to say, oh, plug records. The more a record is played on the wireless, of course, the greater chance it has of succeeding. And I used to say, well, no, not if the public actually don't want it. They won't buy it if they don't want it, no matter how many times it's played.
No, the public needs to hear a record, but you can't actually force anybody to buy anything. And if a DJ thinks a record's fabulous, he could play it to death and it still won't sell. I think the thing that I feel very strongly about is that there are certain people like myself and Elton and others, there are others, who have, I think, bypassed that whole business of trying to audition to get played on, say, the BBC. You know, we are now part of programming. In the summer, I used to make a great thing of fiddling around the radio stations, and almost every day I'd find a station playing something of mine. And I always think, well, that means that we've kind of proved something already. And that if, for instance, the BBC decided they'd give us 1 week of airplay regardless of what someone at the hierarchy thought of the record, the public would hear it, they'd either buy it or they wouldn't buy it. If they didn't buy it immediately and get it in the charts, you could then drop playing it, quite rightfully. But that's just the way I feel. I personally think they should play everything I do.
Why, you think they're a little antipathetic to you in the BBC?
I think that, you know, for instance, I did record a song called Born to Rock and Roll, which is from Time. And someone from the BBC decided it wasn't good enough. Well, I mean, it's all very well and good, but music is very subjective. That particular week that they didn't play the record at all, it was played, in fact, on a local radio station in Surrey. And when played against 4 or 5 other records, it won hands down in a public vote, which meant that it obviously had potential. And that's the only area. I mean, it's difficult because obviously people get, the BBC or as every radio station gets hundreds to play. That's why I think, somehow or another, I've got to bypass all that, because I've done my audition, really, 25 years ago.
You're slipping into part of folklore. You become almost mythology, like the wallpaper. I mean,
oh, thanks.
But it is that kind of thing.
Yeah, velvet wallpaper.
Velvet, yes.
Yeah.
The flock.
More like a drape.
The old flock wallpaper. Now, recently you had a #1 with the young ones, and there was something in the paper about that you wanted to take yourself out of the video or something. What was that about?
Well, I think everyone was slightly embarrassed with that. When I did the show, obviously I realized that I would be going onto a live show, and alternative comedy can be, you know, funny stuff, if you know what I mean. And when I got there, I thought, what am I doing here? But I did the thing with the young ones, and we were a huge hoot and a big success that night, and there wasn't a swear word in it. But no one actually asked permission to put it onto the video. And so I think somebody blundered somewhere along the line. Because I don't think that raising money, you know, anything I don't think anything goes. I still have standards that I prefer to live by. And although I can compromise one live show because there are just 1,500 people that see it and it's all over and done with, a video goes on for a long time and the video is unexpurgated. And so I didn't feel that for the rest of the charity work that I do, it was the right thing for me to present. So I said, do you mind if we take it off? I can always do something else some other time. And they agreed to take it off. But it was a bit embarrassing because no one actually asked if they could use it in the first place. And I think something just got twisted somewhere. It's difficult to blame anyone, and so I'm not going to.
You still do a lot of charity stuff, though, don't you?
Well, I do a charity tour every year. I give a month to it, because it takes about a week to rehearse it. And then about 3 weeks to do concerts. And I mean, the last time I did it, I haven't done one in '86 because, of course, time has taken up all my time. And, but I'm going to do, the first thing I do when I come out of time is have a holiday, and then the first bit of work I do will be a gospel tour.
Yeah. Do you think lots of the bands are saying they should do another Live Aid concert. I mean, your idea sounds a better one. It doesn't generate as much publicity, but it would probably generate as much money, wouldn't it?
Well, I think, funnily enough, with Live Aid, when Live Aid happened, it was such a great boost to our whole nation. Everybody got terribly conscious of doing good and raising money. And a lot of the artists, I know that on the day when I watched the interviews, Bowie and Mick Jagger and a whole host, all those people said, oh, we'd love to do it again. And I don't think it's fair that we should expect one man like Bob to, because Bob was really worn out by that thing. For one man to do all that is asking rather too much. But there's no reason why artists, individuals, shouldn't just say, I'll give one of my concerts. When you think we all tour, I mean, opera singers only do about 30 a year, but we have to do hundreds a year. If we said we'd give one of our concerts, we don't even have to tell anybody that we're giving it. We just devote one concert to raising money for that charity. And if all the big names, I mean, people like Springsteen, they play to 50,000 people. One of his shows could feed Africa.
Yes.
Well, almost.
But some people, it has to be said, I mean, some people don't necessarily have your attitude, and they like to be seen to be giving.
But it's painless. Well, that's a different whole thing, admittedly. But I got the feeling from Live Aid that people's consciences were genuinely pricked. And when I mentioned the one concert, because it's painless. If you've rehearsed to do a tour of 50 concerts, to say I'm going to give up one is not even going to break the bank for you personally.
Well, now, can I take you back in time? Here we go again on time. But I mean, you do have a timeless quality about you. We have the old gags about a picture of Dorian Gray and everything. But I'd like you to see something, because I think you may think that there is no evidence extant that you did a show in this very theatre for television.
I did do 3 series.
Yeah. With Una Stubbs?
And Hank Marvin.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you found something.
We found something, yeah.
Oh,
we dug something up here. Here it comes.
Cliff, I was just thinking. As you're in the next bit, would it help if I introduced it for you?
Oh, that's nice, Una. Actually, yes, it would, actually.
Can you thank me properly?
Sorry. Yes, of course. Thanks, Una. You've got, by the way, a smudge on your cheek.
And I had my hair done and everything.
I know. Yeah. You know, it's been a great pressure, really. When people call me the Peter Pan of pop, I was hoping like mad someone else would take that title. In the last 4 or 5 years, it is a pressure. You go outdoors going, you know, who's looking? Do I still look young?
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean, if someone said to me, you look better now, I'd agree. I don't look younger.
I think you do look better now than that,
I
to be
think
honest.
so. I mean,
yeah.
I got rid of those sideburns. I now have got Star Trek jobs for time.
Yeah.
You know.
You're also wearing a time t-shirt. Is this what you wear on stage? Because I know you're zapping off to get on stage immediately.
Oh, yes.
That's it, is it?
Yeah, this is it.
I thought this was supposed to be a lavish production.
But it was a lavish. I mean, 4.5 million, when they came to buy my clothes, they'd run out.
Yeah.
No, I wear a leather jacket on it. The whole thing is, I think John Napier wanted me to look a bit earthier.
Well, he succeeded, yeah. What was this about? We obviously, Time, one of those shows that only the public likes. And
only the public.
And you're playing to full houses. You got a bit killed by the critics.
Well, the funny thing is, Terry, you say that, but I was just sent something from the Variety magazine in the States is doing a great big thing about Time, and it rightfully says the biggest grossing thing in the West End. What people forget is, and they get terribly upset within the industry when I come out and say something like that. For instance, if Phantom of the Opera was in our theatre, it would be the biggest grossing show in the West End. If Chess was in our theatre, it just happens to be an enormous theatre. It's 2,000 people. It's almost twice as big as many theatres. So it is the big grosser. But the thing that was grosser, the thing that amazed me was that when I saw some of the cuttings of the reviews, there were only 3 bad ones. Everybody else thought it was terrific. The only thing I guess slightly cheesed off was that no one mentioned me. So Lawrence got better reviews than I did.
Yes, but his eyes were moving from his neck up to that's at least originally. Now, I understand, or at least we hear in the reports, that John Travolta will be taking over your role.
No one really knows. I did meet, John Travolta came over for about 4 days to see the show. That obviously means he's obviously thinking about playing the part. He came here and saw it 3 times, and he's ever so nice. I was quite impressed. He's a very, very gentle gentleman. Because sometimes you read about these stars from the States in gossip columns, and you're given the wrong impression. He's a very sensible, calm, quiet, modest man. And if he plays it, he'll be fabulous at it. I mean, he'll probably be better than I am.
Never.
Which is, well, I was going to say, he was just saying something.
Right, yeah. Well, look, tear off now because time's a wasting. I don't know what time you're going to be on stage, but you're not going to make it unless that police escort gets you there quickly. It's nice to see you again.
Terry, thank you.
Continued success.
Thank you very much.
Outspoken Member of Parliament Peter Brundells and the Jewish matchmaker Helena Amram are with us shortly, but if only to show that Cliff Richard is not the sole survivor of the 60s pop scene, let's meet a group who had a hatful of hits in the 60s and 70s, hits inscribed forever on the fleshy tablets of my memory. Bus Stop, Carry On, Just One Look, He Ain't Heavy, He's Me Granny, Our Memories. And Newest Waxing. I used to be a disc jockey.
I can tell. I can tell, Terry. Nothing's changed.